Hello, I'm Peter Whittle. Now, if you're anything like me, you would have watched the Tory leadership contest over the past 2 weeks with a detached feeling of indifference. And also, like me, you might well resent the fact that we are forced to live our political lives vicariously through the fortunes of the Conservative Party. And perhaps that's inevitable because, short of a wholesale reform of the electoral system, we are stuck with the two parties, who naturally resist any such change. As Peter Hitchens once memorably remarked, they remain upright like two corpses leaning against each other. The one great exception in this dismal scene was Kemi Badenoch, who, although she was never going to win, has managed to establish herself as a serious future contender with sincere convictions. Kemi and I were briefly members of the London Assembly at the same time, and she certainly made an impression on me. Clear-headed and intellectually coherent, she has shown herself to be the one of the few elected politicians who understands the magnitude of both the economic and cultural issues facing this country. Not that this understanding had much opportunity to be aired in the recent contest. It was been noteworthy for what wasn't discussed. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I have heard not a single mention of immigration at a time when 2/3 of the country want proper restrictions. No comment was there on whether close to 300,000 a year was acceptable or desirable. Similarly, at a time when yet another report was published into the wholesale rape and sexual assault of thousands of girls by Pakistani grooming gangs, we heard no questions from the media or no answers from the candidates. Nothing. Instead, these issues, the ones that people truly care about and which cause them daily anger and frustration, are treated as though they don't really exist, or at best are not to be included within the framework of serious political debate. Instead, we have to tolerate an empty obsession with tax cuts and small states. We at the NCF are concerned with cultural issues because they are the most important of our time. I believe that, contrary to what many people think, people do not vote purely out of economic interest, but also from a genuine concern for the future of their country as expressed in issues that are not necessarily economically quantifiable. They care about our institutions, they care about their culture and their history, and they understand all too clearly the motives of those who wish to denigrate and debase these things. They understand them far more clearly than the political and media class, which is prone to a herd-like adherence to intellectual fashion. Sooner or later, the Tory party must wake up to this. It might be forced to, by way of an electoral defeat, which is looking increasingly likely. In the meantime, it's up to people like us not to give in to despair. It's also up to us to continue to make our voices heard, to stick together in the knowledge that we represent the feelings and views of the majority of people in this great country. Things can and do change. Nobody would have believed just 10 years ago that one day Britain would leave the EU. But it happened. Likewise, I believe that the cultural assault which we see happening every day will eventually be overcome. It might take time, but it will happen. We must have faith in ourselves. Thank you.